Have you ever wondered about the dinosaurs that didn't quite make it to the history book's highlight reel? The monstrous T-Rex and towering Brachiosaurus are household names, but what about the strange, obscure, and sometimes downright odd dinosaurs that few know about? Today, we're diving deep into the shadowy world of the worst dinosaurs you've never heard of. What makes a dinosaur the worst? Is it their size, their looks, their evolutionary dead end, or maybe just their poor survival skills? Let's find out. Let's begin with one of the strangest looking dinosaurs ever discovered, the Amargasaurus. At first glance, it might seem like just another small member of the sauropod family. But look closer, and you'll spot something truly bizarre. Running down its neck and back are two parallel rows of elongated spiny projections, almost like the dinosaur was wearing a natural double mohawk. These weren't short, stubby ridges. They were long, pointed, and dramatic. But what were they for? That question has puzzled paleontologists for decades. Some believe these spines acted as a defense mechanism, perhaps to make predators think twice. Others suggest they were used for display, maybe to attract mates or intimidate rivals. Another theory posits that the spines supported a thin sail of skin, potentially helping regulate body temperature or signal other members of the species. Still, there's no consensus. What we do know is that, despite its fierce look, Amargasaurus didn't seem to thrive. It appears to have been an evolutionary offshoot that didn't last long. Was it simply too specialized, too slow, or not built for the changing environment? In the end, those iconic spines may have looked cool, but they might have done more harm than good. Moving on. Have you heard of Baryonyx? His fish-eating theropod didn't look or act like your typical land predator. With a long, narrow snout lined with conical teeth, its head looked more like a crocodile's than a raptor's. This wasn't a coincidence. Baryonyx was built for fishing. Its powerful, oversized arms and massive claws suggest it spent much of its time near water, scooping fish from rivers and lakes, perhaps like a prehistoric grizzly bear. But here's the catch. While Baryonyx was well adapted for life near water, it wasn't fully aquatic. And on land, it lacked the speed, agility, and deadly efficiency of more specialized hunters like the velociraptor or T-Rex. It lived in a sort of evolutionary no-man's land, not quite dominant in any one niche. That might explain why Baryonyx never rose to the fame of other dinosaurs. It was a specialist in a world that may have favored adaptability. Its unique features made it fascinating, but perhaps also limited. Was it a creative evolutionary experiment that didn't quite pay off? In the grand story of dinosaurs, Baryonyx remains an odd, underappreciated chapter, part crocodile, part hunter, and entirely peculiar. What's worse than being poorly armed? How about being a gigantic dinosaur with a tiny brain? Meet the Amphicoelias, once possibly the largest dinosaur ever found. This sauropod is believed by some paleontologists to be the largest dinosaur that ever lived, potentially stretching over 100 feet long. Just imagine a creature longer than a blue whale, lumbering across prehistoric landscapes. But here's the catch. Despite its incredible size, Amphicoelias had a brain that was, well, embarrassingly tiny. Compared to its massive body, its brain was about the size of a grapefruit. That raises a tough question. Can sheer size make up for a lack of smarts? While its enormous bulk may have protected it from predators, a small brain likely meant poor problem-solving skills, weak memory, and limited adaptability. In an environment filled with changing climates, evolving predators, and shifting ecosystems, that could be a fatal flaw. Was Amphicoelias a victim of its own gigantism? Its towering stature may have wowed the Mesozoic world, but without the brain power to match, survival could have been more about luck than strategy. It makes you wonder, was intelligence just as important as muscle in the age of dinosaurs? Amphicoelias stands as a colossal reminder that being the biggest doesn't always mean being the best adapted. Let's not forget the Therizinosaurus. This creature looked like something out of a sci-fi movie, with a pot-bellied frame, a beaked face, and absurdly long, clawed arms. Its claws? They stretched over 3 feet long, longer than a grown man's arm. But here's the real mystery. What on earth were those massive claws used for? Some paleontologists think they were for defense, like natural switchblades to ward off predators. Others believe they may have helped in gathering vegetation, pulling down branches, or even used in mating displays to attract a partner. And some think the claws were just for show, an evolutionary gamble that looked impressive but didn't do much practically. The odd part? Despite those terrifying weapons, Therizinosaurus was likely a peaceful herbivore. It lumbered slowly and didn't have the sharp teeth or killer instincts of a raptor. That's what makes it so bizarre, like a tank with gardening tools for arms. Was Therizinosaurus an evolutionary success or just a weird experiment? Its strange form makes it unforgettable, but perhaps it was too specialized to last. In a world of toothy hunters and speedy grazers, it may have clawed itself into a corner it couldn't escape from. Next, check out Masiakasaurus, a small, fast-moving theropod from what is now Madagascar. At first glance, it doesn't look too different from other meat-eaters of its time. That is, until you notice its teeth. Unlike most predatory dinosaurs, Masiakasaurus had forward-projecting teeth in the front of its jaws, almost like it had a snaggle-toothed smile. These unusual teeth weren't just for show. They likely played a role in snatching up small, slippery prey like fish, insects, or even small reptiles. But there's a trade-off. While this dental arrangement may have made it a skilled specialist in its niche, it also meant Masiakasaurus was less adaptable than other predators with broader diets. Its light frame and long legs suggest it was a fast runner, possibly relying on agility rather than brute strength. But despite its speed and specialized diet, Masiakasaurus didn't dominate its ecosystem. In fact, it remains a relatively obscure dinosaur, known mainly from partial fossils. What about Camarasaurus? Now, this dinosaur is a bit of a paradox. It wasn't the biggest, it wasn't the fastest. It didn't have flashy features like the whiptail of Diplodocus or the sheer size of Argentinosaurus. Yet despite all that, Camarasaurus was one of the most common sauropods roaming North America during the late Jurassic. It had a boxy skull, strong teeth suited for tough plants, and a compact, robust build. Nothing exotic, but maybe that's exactly why it thrived. While other sauropods seemed specialized, some too long, some too massive, Camarasaurus hit that evolutionary sweet spot, strong enough to defend itself, big enough to avoid predators, and not so oversized that it struggled to find food or water. Some paleontologists even joke that Camarasaurus was the Toyota Corolla of the Jurassic, reliable, functional, and built to last. But here's the deeper question. Does being unremarkable make it less interesting, or more successful? In an era defined by dramatic extinction events and wild evolutionary gambles, Camarasaurus may have quietly outperformed its flashier cousins by simply being balanced. Ever heard of Udinoceratops? Udinoceratops was a ceratopsian related to Triceratops, but without the iconic horns or giant frill. Instead, it sported a massive parrot-like beak and a bulky, oddly shaped skull. At first glance, it seems underwhelming. No flashy defense mechanisms, no dramatic size advantage. Some paleontologists have even labeled it as awkward or poorly equipped compared to its more famous relatives. But here's the thing. Udinoceratops comes from a part of the late Cretaceous world we still know very little about. Its fossils are rare, fragmentary, and found in remote parts of Mongolia. That means much of its life remains a blank slate. Sometimes the worst dinosaur isn't about anatomy, but about how quickly they vanished. With long, curved claws, a strong beak, and a body built for browsing, Erlikosaurus was part of the Therizinosaur family, known for their strange, almost bird-like appearance and herbivorous diets. But despite these fascinating features, Erlikosaurus barely left a mark in the fossil record. Why? It vanished almost as mysteriously as it appeared. Was it poor adaptability? A victim of changing climates? Or did it simply lose the evolutionary lottery against faster, tougher, or smarter dinosaurs? Some experts believe Erlikosaurus may have been too specialized, perfectly suited for one specific type of ecosystem or food source, but completely vulnerable when that ecosystem changed or disappeared. Which raises a bigger question. Were the worst dinosaurs really just victims of over-specialization? Because sometimes nature rewards the flexible, not the flashy. Dinosaurs like Erlikosaurus weren't necessarily failures. They were successful until the environment shifted. That's the catch with specialization. It works beautifully, until it doesn't. So maybe Erlikosaurus wasn't weak. It was just too perfect for a world that didn't last. Now let's rewind the clock to meet Guanlong, a dinosaur that wore the tyrannosaur crown long before the infamous T-Rex showed up. But unlike its brutal descendant, Guanlong was kind of modest. It was slender, about the size of a large dog, and sported a thin, decorative crest on its head, more fashion-forward than ferocious. But don't write it off just yet. Guanlong lived nearly 160 million years ago, making it one of the earliest known members of the tyrannosaur lineage. It was agile, fast, and likely clever. But compared to the bone-crushing behemoths that followed, Guanlong looks more like an evolutionary experiment than a final product. So, what happened? Well, evolution doesn't always reward the original. Guanlong's light frame and crest might have helped it thrive in its own time, but when ecosystems changed and apex predators got bigger, stronger, and more brutal, there just wasn't room for a dainty little tyrant. Was Guanlong a failure? Not really. It was a vital stepping stone in the rise of one of history's greatest predators. But like many early innovators, it got left behind as the world evolved around it. A pioneer, yes, but one history quietly buried. But what about the incredibly rare and obscure ones like Culindrodromeus? At first glance, this small, two-legged plant eater from Siberia didn't seem all that exciting. Just another humble herbivore nibbling on ferns, right? But when scientists unearthed its fossil in 2014, everything changed. Because along with its bones, they found feathers. And that was a bombshell. Up until then, feathers were mostly linked to meat-eating theropods, the ancestors of modern birds. But Culindrodromeus was a plant eater, far removed from that evolutionary branch. The discovery flipped our assumptions upside down. If herbivores like this had feathers, maybe the origin of feathers stretched deeper and wider across the dinosaur family tree than we ever imagined. So here's the twist. Dinosaurs once dismissed as unremarkable or primitive can turn out to be revolutionary. Culindrodromeus may never top a dinosaur popularity contest, but its fossil told a story no one saw coming. A story that reshaped how we think about dinosaur evolution, appearance, and the roots of birds. Maybe it wasn't a failure. Maybe it was just ahead of its time. A misunderstood pioneer, hiding in plain sight. Before we wrap up, let's talk about a dinosaur even stranger than its famous cousin, Therizinosaurus. Meet Segnosaurus, a creature that looked like it was made from leftover parts of other dinosaurs. Imagine a pot-bellied herbivore with a bird-like beak, clawed hands longer than your arm, and a shaggy coat of primitive feathers. It walked on two legs but had a wide, bulky frame, almost comical next to the sleek raptors or towering sauropods of its time. So what evolutionary path leads to something like this? Segnosaurus belonged to a group called Therizinosaurs, a bizarre offshoot of theropods, traditionally meat-eaters, that somehow turned to plants. Over time, they developed long necks, enormous bellies, and claws that look like they belong in a horror movie. Were those claws defensive tools? For stripping vegetation? Or just evolutionary leftovers? Whatever the case, Segnosaurus seemed like an evolutionary gamble. Highly specialized, incredibly unique, but maybe too much so. Because unlike the more adaptable dinosaurs that lasted millions of years, Segnosaurus and its kind disappeared without a trace. Did its odd design make it too niche to survive the chaos that followed? Sometimes being weird is a strength. Other times, it's an expiration date. If you could travel back in time, which of these oddballs would you want to see in action? Would you root for the underdog like Masiakasaurus, or be terrified of the hairy, clawed Therizinosaurus? The dinosaur world was vast and varied, and sometimes the strangest creatures are the most fascinating. So, next time you think of dinosaurs, remember, not all giants roamed in glory. Some were evolutionary experiments, some had odd features that didn't quite pan out, and others simply disappeared without fanfare. The worst dinosaurs are a testament to nature's trials and errors across millions of years. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed uncovering the secrets of these forgotten giants. Until next time, keep wondering about the incredible, the weird, and yes, even the worst dinosaurs you've never heard of.